This is the Revit plumbing template that I created. I spent a ton of hours over the last few weeks working on it. I wanted to include all the common items that we typically use in the commercial plumbing industry here in the Atlanta area without making the file size too big. Google's Gemini AI search engine, which has helped me out a lot on figuring a lot of these things out, tells me that the typical maximum size of a plumbing template would be about 80 megabytes. This one here, it comes out to about 78.9 right now when everything's blank on it. Go down through here and show you everything that's on the template. I have all of the views set to coordination. Some of the families that I have in this template don't show up when they're just shown on the plumbing view. They show up, but they don't show up good. They're like half tone. The coordination view works better to see everything. One example of that would be like angle iron. Angle iron is a structural framing component. And if you don't have it to set the coordination view, the angle iron just shows like in half tone and you can't see it as good. There's a couple other items like that too. This first floor, I just used it as like a scratch pad to test all these families that I downloaded, the different manufacturers. Mostly I got them from manufacturers. There were a couple of independent sources that I got them from. I got the cast iron fittings from a website called Kinship. I like them because they had all the bands on them already when you draw it. There are some drawbacks with their fittings. They don't have like quarter bends, and a couple of other fittings like they don't have double combinations. But you can add the bands individually to those fittings if you want to. I have the fittings that Kinship didn't have. I have them by other sources. I included a legend with this template. I have all these material lists set up and schedules already set up. I've got the schedules in the legend already inserted on this sheet, the legend and schedule sheet. I figure most projects are always going to need this just for convenience and efficiency. There again, I went ahead and created it on the template so it'll be there already. And these schedules, they automatically populate as you draw the plumbing in. The blank template, after I delete everything, won't have anything listed here, of course, until you use it and draw in the plumbing, then it'll populate. It's just a standard basic legend that I had. Go through these lists, I'll show you. I got one material list for pipe accessories. This automatically populates as you draw the plumbing in. List here is a little weird. I had to set it up like this. You'll see there's 3 quantity columns. Most of the results that you're looking for are listed in this column here. I had to add the other columns because some of these different families put their data in different places and within the family. I couldn't get Revit to calculate it all together. I spent a lot of time trying to do that, but I couldn't make it work. I finally gave up. Like I said, Google Gemini helped me through a lot of this, and I think that was even one thing that Gemini gave up on. I think we finally, I say we, I feel like I'm talking to a person sometimes when I'm talking to it, but I think we decided that this would probably be the best way to go with it. The figuring is that these lists can be exported to Excel or PDF file. Our figuring was that it'd be easier to fine-tune this list in Excel to clean it up. It automatically calculates the footage of the unistrut and threaded rod, all the other pipe accessories. Got the material list for plumbing equipment. Just kind of basic stuff. Material list for the fittings. There's a couple things I don't like about how this list had to be set up. I worked on make it the best I could. There's some different things with Revit and these different families that caused it to have to be created like this. Some of the families use these combination L's, 4590s, and the only way I can get it to identify is by creating a separate column that shows the degree angle. The sizes, I don't like the dashes in there instead of the X that we typically see, but there again, there wasn't no easy fix for that. But this is the fitting list. of all the stuff that I got drawn on my little scratch drawing while I was testing each of these families to see which ones work best. You would expect that the biggest manufacturer would have the best families, at least I would. That wasn't the case all the time. A lot of times it was the smaller manufacturers that had the better working families that had less problems with them. And then we got a material list for the fixtures. And this is just a basic list. Again, all these lists populate automatically as you draw the stuff in on the floor plans. Finally, we got a material list for pipe. Broken down for all the different pipe types are grouped together. I got the numbers rounded off so they don't show inches or fractions of an inch. You just have to round them up to the nearest 10 or 20 feet, whatever is needed for whatever type pipe you're using. These lists, like I said, can be exported to Excel. They can be used for either field use for ordering the material, or they can be sent to suppliers to get prices. Down here to some of the families I have installed in this template. Pipe accessories, I pretty much got all the common items that we typically use. There again, I would love to have everything, but in the effort to keep the file size from getting too big, you got to be real selective on what you want to put in there. If it didn't matter how big the file got, I would probably have, quite a few more things in here just for convenience. But I tried to pick the things that we use the most. If you need additional items for a certain project, you can always insert the family later. One thing I haven't added yet is balancing valve or circuit setter. I think I'm going to add that. I still got a little room under the 80 megabyte threshold. Like I said, I'm at 78.9 megabyte right now. I'm sure adding a valve won't hurt nothing. Then we got all the different pipe fittings. The only type of pipe that I don't have that we commonly use is PEX. I'm not real sure how important that is to have in here. I'm not sure if it's important to be able to see the curvy lines that PEX produces. I'm not even sure if Revit would render it right. I may come back and add it later. This template I made it from a template I downloaded from Autodesk. It's an MEP template. They did come with some of these items already on it, such as insulation. Fiberglass is the most widely used. I know occasionally we might see some Armor Flex or Revitex, whatever you call it, but I didn't bother with adding it. Then we get into pipe types. There again, we don't have PEX on there, but everything else we typically use is on there. Piping systems. The template came with a few of these systems already on there, but I did have to add some of them, such as natural gas and storm and emergency rainwater. This is storm overflow to keep it orderly. And then we got all the plumbing equipment. These pipe connectors, they're there in case if you need to create a connection to something. We got kind of like a basic set of fixtures that you might commonly use. I didn't really want to put the commode carriers and urinal carriers and lavatory carriers in with the fixtures, but the commode carriers did something funky when I tried to move them to pipe accessories. They went like halftone, so I decided to just go ahead and leave all the carriers here in the plumbing fixtures. It's probably not too strange to have them listed in plumbing fixtures. Finally, I've got angle iron in here, and it's under structural framing. I couldn't find any angle iron that I could change to a plumbing type item. All of it, the way Revit works, it wouldn't let me do that with angle iron. It had to stay as structural framing. Show you some different views of some of the stuff that I did while I was working with these families and testing them. These carriers that I got downloaded, I really like them. They're watch carriers. The legs on them adjust automatically to remain in contact with the floor as the body raises for the drainage of the slope. Most of the carriers, the legs would raise up off the floor as the body raises. Zern makes some that are with adjustable legs too, but I couldn't find a double back-to-back carrier for Zern, so Watts was the best that I could find. I didn't install any vertical carriers in this template. Most plumbers I know hate vertical carriers. I guess if you really need a vertical carrier, you can always load one into the template if you need it. This is the angle iron. This is set up for prefabbed installations. Some companies prefab all this in their shop and send it out to the job site. And I use this angle iron to hold it all together. I added riser clamps recently. Here's a view of the other wall. There again, you see this is a pretty long run for the drainage pipe, and most of the other carrier families, the legs would be way up off the floor on this high end. I don't think any of them do, is this faceplate doesn't adjust separately for like a handicap height toilet. As you can see in this example, this would be the handicap. Usually I always set the handicap up be farthest away so you can catch the most number of carriers, because the handicap carrier is the highest. But as you can see, the faceplate is below the drainage pipe. The faceplate would be higher because it's handicap. So it's all right like it is, just it's not really showing right. But like I said, I doubt that any manufacturer has an adjustable faceplate. This end section of the carriers. See the frame. That's it, I guess. Just like I said, you can see I was experimenting with everything. One of the things I thought was kind of weird is that some of these manufacturers have these families that when you go to install the item, it installs upside down. The downspout nozzles, or lamb's tongues, whatever you call them. I always call them downspout nozzles. I think that's the correct technical name. When you go to install them, they install upside down, and you have to manually rotate them. There's a wash machine boxes, an ice maker box. The air admittance valve box, the student vent box, whatever you want to call it, also installs upside down. Once again, you have to rotate it after you place it. And that's made by Odie. It seems like these manufacturers could afford to pay somebody to make these families right. I couldn't figure out how to fix the ones that install upside down. Some of these other things I did fix. A good example of that would be the mop sink that I downloaded. It's a Fiat. The hot and cold water were crossed on it. The connections that were built into the family, hot was on the right and cold was on the left. I did go into that and edit the family and fix that. It's, like I said, I fixed some of the things. Some of the manufacturers would have their family set to install at weird heights. The wall hydrants and hose bibs. Seemed like they were set to 5 feet high. I went in and changed those to 2 feet high. Another common dimension might be 18 inches, but I just went 2 feet. Let me show you a 3D view. Always like looking at the 3D view. This is all the stuff I drew just for testing different things. Make sure it worked good. This is the carrier assembly. In this view, you can see the angle iron real good. One other thing I want to mention was the hangers. These hangers that I found are pretty good. They install pretty easy and they adjust real easy. Raise the hanger, the whole hanger, or you can just raise just the rod. And there are some add-ins that you can download from Autodesk that automatically install hangers on all the piping. I might look into it. On these hangers, you have to go around and manually insert them all. It's one of them air admittance valve box I was talking about. It installs upside down. I gotta turn it right. I'm going to have this plumbing template available for downloading if anybody wants to use it, or if they just like to look at it. Of course, you have to have Revit to be able to do that. I also have a list of glitches and fixes for the different families that have little minor issues with them in this template. I have it wrote up. I'm also going to have it available for download. Both this template and the list I have wrote up for glitches and fixes will be available on my website. My website is davidstauffer-plumbingprofile.com. And the page that links to this template will be on, and also that list of glitches and fixes. It'll be on the Revit page of my website. That would be davidstauffer-plumbingprofile.com/Revit/. That's about it with my template. Thanks for watching my video.